We are IO Gear. We'll be speaking about hardware and live streaming and how it applies to the mass appeal. So, short, we're hardware guys, connectivity. We've been in this space for about a decade, working with esports live streamers, both on our Caliber gaming line and our upstream line. A lot of the products that we work with are designed to connect or supplement the game consoles, the PC gamers, depending on the type of needs that they have. So I don't think I need to go into great detail over how much money and how many opportunities there are in the esports space, especially as far as it goes to live streaming. As you can kind of tell, at this point we're about 3.3 billion hours of esports, which accounts for about 10% of sports viewing in the US right now. One of the things that we've been seeing more and more is esports is on a global scale, and even especially at the US scale, approaching a point where it's taking past baseball, past NFL. It's on its way to working towards the NFL. No one can beat the Super Bowl yet. And as we reach this point of speaking to the esports space, like the Olympic Game Committee has become much more interested in reviewing it and seeing if it's an opportunity for us to kind of become a more legitimate sports. So on the live streaming side, we're looking at, on Twitch alone, 2.2 million daily broadcasts, 15 million daily viewers. Twitch's concurrent viewership is around 2 million. And if you put that in perspective, that outstrips Fox News and ESPN on any given day. So who's driving this growth? We're seeing gamers, influencers, grandmothers, in short, regular users with access to a computer and internet connection. Esports is creating this massive live streaming esports opportunity for gamers. And as with everything, we're seeing quality is everything. So
I'll go ahead and take over from here. Morning, everyone. My name is Marco. So let's go ahead and get straight into it. So here we have a couple, the main use cases for live streaming in esports world. So we have esports commentary, let's play streaming, and then just training and practice sessions. So for esports commentary, that's where all the esports league, esports tournaments, how they're going to be running, broadcasting their tournaments live with multiple cameras and higher end broadcasting equipment as well. Let's Play streaming can range. It could start from your basic capture camera with just a mic, your console, and you're ready to go, streaming to Twitch, Mixer, any CDN platform that you'd like. Obviously, it could range to your high-end streamers like your Ninjas or Shrouds that are using broadcasting equipment, but it's not always necessary. The training practice sessions are going to be where it's going to be the basic level, just your capture card and your mic. Mainly just want to show the actual content of the video game, not necessarily a persona or anyone on camera. So key thing is innovation. So with the latest technology, that's what's opening up the windows and the doors for everyone to be able to come in and take a part of the live streaming world. So it's not really necessary to need, or not necessary to have a huge broadcasting system, a big switch or a big production or a team of someone behind you producing the whole event to be able to really do well in this industry. So just to start off hardware-wise, resolution, at least a few years ago, we have come a long way. And not necessarily in the gameplay. Obviously gameplay, PC monitors and stuff like that have been at a very high level for quite a few years. But now we're focusing more on the capture quality and the content that we're actually outputting to the viewers. More viewers nowadays will have 4K TVs or 4K projectors as well that they're showing these streams on. So we need the capabilities and the capture cards as well to be able to do that. And that's exactly where we're heading towards as well. So in the hardware side, the Type-C connector is going to be the most all-around universal connector. It's been out for quite a few years. Nowadays, it's being implied into most mobile phones, your Android phones, laptops, tablets, all of them are starting to adopt USB-C. The main reason is because of the bandwidth that the C connector can provide. So it could range from USB 2.0 all the way up to Thunderbolt, which would give you the 40 gigabits bandwidth, the maximum bandwidth that could go through the Type-C connector. There's a lot of capture cards nowadays also that use Type-C connectors. With these Type-C connectors, it's all plug and play, no drivers are needed, very easy to use. So obviously one of the main reasons also is affordability. So like I said, there is those huge broadcasting switches that you can use to be able to broadcast a professional level stream, but it's not always necessary. So with external capture cards and external switches, a high-end streaming PC isn't always necessary. So with a broadcast switch that is stream ready, you hook up the Ethernet connection to it itself, and you're ready to run. So the PC itself isn't necessary anymore for those kinds of equipment. And that stream ready equipment like that ranges, price varies between as well, but it's much lower than what it used to be at as well. So I think the most important part is the learning curve. So when you look at the equipment, it might look intimidating, but once you get into the actual, into setting it up and looking at the user guide and everything, it's usually really, really user friendly. Most equipment is plug and play nowadays. There's very rare capture cards that you need to install drivers or anything like that. And if there is software included, the software is usually always very intuitive as well.
Yeah. So the future of esports, especially in the live streaming space, is we're going to see streamers continue to invest in hardware. You look at someone like Ninja, who had Monster Energy invest millions of dollars into his new studio. Most streamers are not going to have that ability to tap Monster Energy to build out their live streaming kit. So you're going to see people who are going to start flocking more to Best Buy, where you can see even from in the retail space right now, they're investing more and more. They've positioned their Elgato and the Logitech supplies, and as other streaming, live streaming players get into the market, we're going to see much more competition heat up between them and how they work with the streamers. So from a streaming standpoint, the fact that the barrier to entry now has gotten to such a low level that a little old grandmother out of Iowa can set up a streaming empire playing World of Warcraft is kind of indicative of where we see this going. And as the technology gets faster and more innovative, it allows them to create more adoption. So we're going to see more streamers, more people who think that they can start streaming and learn the ways. And especially as we're seeing, as the streaming wars start kind of increasing with what we're seeing with Twitch, what we're seeing with Mixer, and what we're seeing with Caffeine as these new entries into the marketplace to kind of dominate in that kind of live streaming space. I think, honestly, the only people who are really benefiting from the wars is YouTube, because everyone will stream to Twitch, stream to Mixer, and at the end of the day, all of that content ends up on YouTube. So we're seeing a lot of influencers who are utilizing new pieces of hardware to capture, comment, and build out their empires so that they have a better chance of connecting with their communities, growing those donations, and ideally becoming the next Ninja, Shroud, or Dr. Disrespect. So we can take some questions. We kind of rushed through that, but not in the back.
So, what kind of gear do you guys are you guys manufacturing specifically for esports? I mean,
So we have a couple in the pipeline. The main one right now that you could actually see at CES, we will have a live demo there, is a full video production switch that is stream ready. So it's all run by an app on an iPad, and it has up to 8 scenes that you can set up and have ready to go. Everything's all fully controlled on the panel itself. Very small, very portable. So that's our main one, and then we're also have your basic capture card with a HDMI input, HDMI output to be able to run your basic streams as well.
The idea behind a lot of the products that we're developing is to either supplement the PC or in the case of the production switch, essentially eliminate it. So if you're a console esports player, all you need is your console, a camera, a lighting rig, and you're good to go. It's kind of the situation of lowering the cost to entry so that you don't need to buy a console, buy a high-end PC, the lighting rig, and all this other stuff. You can have one package where you can interact with Steam Labs or Twitch. A number of our products will actually stream to two streaming services at the same time, allowing you to capture more of the market space, more opportunities for esports players and influencers to speak to multiple audiences at the same time, depending on how they've basically built their, where their user base is. So if you're someone like Ninja who's just left Twitch to go to Mixer, you might be setting it up so that you have an opportunity to both capture on the Mixer, but also on YouTube, picking up those additional views, those additional communities, those additional donations for, all of the additional content that he needs to produce on a regular basis so that he can stay in the lap of luxury.
So are you, which would you say is more important, chasing 4K or higher frame rate?
I mean, for gamers, it depends on how you look at it. So if in the streaming sense of it, on the content that's getting sent to the stream, mainly it's going to be the 4K resolution. And that's just because TVs nowadays that people are going to be watching at really don't have the capabilities to be running at higher frame rates regardless. So they're going to be capped out at 60 frame rates. It would be nice, once our technology, picks up or catches up with monitors on the TV side, then frame rates would be very useful. With the gaming side, obviously the capture cards that have outputs on them, those can run higher frame rates, so the gamer doesn't lose any of his advantages on his monitor or his PC or whatever game console he's on as well. Yeah.
Just a quick second question, which is what you mentioned some gamers spending $1 million on the studio. The other frame grabber, what is it? What do you expect on $1 million quid, $1 million?
Yeah, so the streamer in regards was Ninja. And actually, so his stream room has, just to go into detail, it has multiple cameras set up everywhere. So he has different areas of the room where he could do different things, whether he's communicating directly to the chat and he's not playing a game, or he's playing a separate game in the room itself. Right.
He's the kid with the blue hair.
Right.
These are the Panasonic 150s. There's 4 of those. Those are 10 grand each.
Right.
For the actual streaming of the game, it's presumably just a frame grabber.
Yeah.
Right. And then the broadcast system that he uses is TV grade. So his is a full, it's a Blackmagic production switch with multiple inputs. But those could range, usually those start between like $2,500 to $3,000. Yeah.
It's been a lot of money that we are seeing just from our end, especially on the hardware manufacturer side. The amount of investment that is going into these players is like starting to outstrip what our company could even accomplish. As more and more brands are getting into this space, making it so that these folks can have the opportunity to connect with a growing audience. I believe Ninja's numbers on Mixer are close to 10 million?
Concurrent viewers.
When he left Twitch, they saw a 2% drop in viewership, and Microsoft has become very aggressive. They recently captured Shroud. They're going after others to kind of build out that brand. And then on the flip side, you have Disney and Fox with caffeine.tv. That's another space where they're pushing into the lifestyle and the beauty, but you're going to see more and more esports because that's an audience that they just love to consume the content. And what you're seeing is, the more content you can produce, the more content you need to produce to keep kind of the audiences satisfied. So one of the things that we've been seeing on the hardware side is this constant need to the one-upsmanship, the having the better resolution, having the better capture abilities, eliminating the need to have a PC so that they can focus on the mobile gaming or the console gaming. It really depends on the type of esports player that we're speaking about, because it can range now from the League of Legends that everyone kind of is used to your Overwatches, to Code Vein, to the new Call of Duty on your phone. It gives you the opportunity to kind of speak to different audiences, and the hardware that you have can assist you or hinder you depending on how your setup is built, and also what platform that you're streaming to.
Ever any rights issues with streaming games?
Mainly no, but if so, on the console side, so I know Sony and Microsoft, depending on the game itself and where you are in the game, it will stop recording certain scenes or things that aren't allowed to be streamed. That could happen, but mainly gameplay never really has a problem like that. Sometimes in the menus when you go into settings and stuff like that, they'll cancel the recording, or they'll just stop the recording and they won't allow it. But for the most part, you do need to have HDCP turned off. On most switches, there's high-end level switches that do have that support. But in regards to the consoles, it really isn't a problem. Yeah.
It really is one of those situations where it comes down to the developer. So you have developers like Blizzard who are actively encouraging this. But on the flip side, you have Nintendo is a classic example where they will automatically try to either stop streams, or if you start doing something inappropriately, put a ban against you. They're far more aggressive about maintaining the brand integrity versus someone at like Epic or Blizzard who is more focused on growing that game's influence and that growth. So they're willing to kind of accept more extreme examples of their game being used versus Nintendo, which is much more protective. So it comes down to a developer per developer kind of situation.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay, thank you to IO here for their presentation. Let's give them a round of applause.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you.
I'm Darcy Lorenz. I'm with Torque Esports. We're a multi-company conglomerate, so now we're 11 companies around the world doing a number of things in esports, but our most exciting thing is our World's Fastest Gamer franchise, which I'll talk about today. And it's interesting when you actually get in a vertical in this space like automotive, because it actually provides some clarity and some direction versus just kind of trying to figure out what an esport is to brands and sponsors like a Fortnite game or a PUBG or whatever else is out there. So 8 years ago, we started this thing called the GT Academy. And the purpose was to show automotive motorsports brands how to connect with this audience that they call millennial, or the gamer audience. And ultimately, that program was about bringing what at the time was the most popular driving game, which was Gran Turismo, together with racers. And the ambition and the prize was, if you could be a good enough gamer, you might be a good enough driver, which you might be a good enough racer, and ultimately win the prize in a seat of at the time, Nissan GTR in one of the 8 series that we operated in. So the first 6 years we ran it, we graduated 18 drivers. Started with several million gamers on Gran Turismo, and they all laddered up and competed against each other till they ultimately hit the simulator, where many dropped off because it's not natural always to go from a controller to wheels and pedals and force feedback and motion and everything driving. And we knew that. We didn't need 6.5 million kids competing in simulators, because we would never find that many sims to actually use. But ultimately, a few thousand made it, and at the end, 10 of them competed for a prize, which was a seat in a real car. So ultimately, that's what we're still running today. It's called World's Fastest Gamer. Well, we finished last 2 weeks ago in Las Vegas, season 9. We started with our project this year on a mobile game, first time, which was called the Gear Club. We bought a company called Eden Games out of France, which gave us finally some control over our destiny, because all those other years we had Gran Turismo, iRacing, or one of these publishers making us do what they wanted us to do versus us doing what was right for our business. So we went out and discovered a company that had the best mobile game for driving and acquired them, and the rest is history in terms of how we were able to adapt that and then attract our 23 million users of the game to have an ambition to drive a real car at some point. Actually, what we did in gaming on the mobile side, which is, I think pretty interesting, was we used the mobile game to drive behavior, which we couldn't do on the console. You don't have in-app purchases and all those good things that you can do. We bought another company called UMG Gaming at the time, and so we started doing a bunch of events every day, like 200 events a day, literally. So people could challenge each other, and we started seeing all these mobile gamers become, actual competitors. And this year's prize was $1 million and a seat in the Aston Martin team in the Blancpain series in Europe. And it was crazy to watch, 9 months of that action, but ultimately ended up in Vegas 2 weeks ago with 10 kids who 4 don't even have a driver's license, 6 that were pretty good gamers, and 2 that actually drove before in a race, all stayed together on a track in Las Vegas and raced for the prize. And it wasn't what you'd expect. It was very close. The winner was a previous driver in terms of having some experience, but second and third place don't even have driver's licenses. So it was interesting to see how you can bring gamers up through the ranks of playing games and have some ambition for something. It doesn't have to be about having a seat on the Aston Martin team. Last year's winner just got a Formula E ride with Mahindra this year, Rudy. So these guys are and gals, because there's lots of ladies that tried the thing too. This year we had one lady from Canada that was in the top 10. They all love gaming. They all love the idea that they could be a real racer. And if you all play any driving games, I'm sure you think that you could be a real racer someday too. I do. I've never made it. Actually, in our company, we don't care. We can compete against everybody. And I ended up at 7,060th or something. So it wasn't really a great year. It wasn't a great campaign for me this year. What we also found in this ambition was putting together the sponsors in the game. And if I wasn't late, I would actually put up some stuff. And if I can, I might still do it. I might log into it. But ultimately, we showed all these years, but especially the last 2 seasons, brands that are in the automotive sector, how to reach an audience and how to actually be in a game and be genuine and bring your brands in front of other people. So we have a game now that's just a Porsche game. Porsche hijacked the entire game. Every car is a Porsche. All the parts you put in your car are Porsche. Imagine the data that they get from. They didn't get the full 23 million going that way. They had about 6.5 that downloaded and played this year. But they have 6.5 million gamers that use their product every day. And they know if they have the 911 or the 914 or the new car. They know what tires and wheels they put on them with Bridgestone or Michelin or Pirelli. They know if they wrench on their car and paint it certain colors. We collect all that data in our back end, so we have another company called StreamHatchet for business intelligence data analytics that we own. So we feed constantly the behavior of all these gamers back to all the automotive brands and aftermarket parts manufacturers. So we really have an ecosystem now in the automotive vertical that's, again, it's the entry point, and some places the only place where gamers have any experience with motorsports. If you watch motorsports and streaming of motorsports, it's going this way. NASCAR can't even put half the people they put on television 5 years ago anymore, and literally most of them, other than Formula One, drift, and some really high fast motion games aren't going anywhere. So they're really the only place for brands to reach audiences, especially in this space, is in that particular 18 to 35-year-old. I hate the word millennial, but we'll call them that they need to get to, and they don't know how to get there otherwise. They've found a way to get there, and so constantly we're feeding with the data. Of course, they pay us for it. They pay us for the product placement in the game. They are the ones that provide the prizes every week. We have about $10,000 of prizes a week during during the regular year. And all that builds on itself. And you watch all these gamers just go crazy trying to win that prize. So that's kind of the story is, you can be, I'm not sure if there's any other vertical, maybe soccer someday will have, where you can really kick a ball in virtual reality and have some skills in soccer that get you onto the field. Golf is one that we're looking at. We think golf is a good one for us to enter. We just acquired a golf game and a golf simulator. We own the simulator for driving, by the way, so again, full control of our ecosystem. So golf seems to be another one where you can actually swing and it's something real and these sensors can tell you where the ball goes. So I think that one will be our next ambition, is to bring gamers and make them a professional golfer. So we'll see how that goes as we launch that next season. But the GT Academy, that's now the world's fastest gamer, is definitely a game worth taking a look at if you're trying to figure out how to use gaming to reach brands, or if you're a brand or a sponsor, what's interesting, how do you get into the game and you'll be genuine in front of this audience. It's kind of natural in racing because you actually start by making your car performance driven. You actually have to put things on it and they're all physics driven in the game. So if you add this thing and it's not right, your car will perform less. So kids are learning things about physics and wrenching on cars and some STEM education programs that we're involved with. So it's really cool to see that whole ecosystem evolving around something that's real. And a simulator for driving is real. I get out of one of those things, I'm going to have a heart attack. I'm going to have sweating and I'm thinking I've just finished 5 rounds at Daytona. So ultimately, there is a path, I think, for many of the genres, especially in sports, to go from just playing a game casually to playing professionally to eventually actually being in a real sport. And I think you're going to see a lot more of that. And I think the smart brands that figure that out and figure out how to follow those players in the journey, they ultimately are going to get the prizes, these young athletes that become real athletes out of gaming into our sports. So I'll try and get a video up here.
Is waiting to be discovered. Every corner.
Oh, we get an ad too, awesome. When you see a kid that for the first time drives up to the McLaren factory and was a gamer on his mom's couch a year ago, and he's suddenly this crazy driver that's about to get a career. It's unbelievable. So we've graduated people into Formula One, Formula E, Long Pain Series, GT Asia, you name it. Those are the sims that they use. It doesn't look like a sim. It's actually a real frame and chassis, but it is a simulator.
Every possible record you can think of. 15 Grand Prix wins in the first year together. You kidding?
I'm not sure what the audio is pretty weird.
And
Is it weird for you guys back there?
Well, I leave it for you.
Damn
to
YouTube.
decide. Now, you've probably done the
Probably
maths.
could have plugged my phone in.
10, 20, 30 years. This is a sport where only thing that matters is who opened the last champagne bottle. And guess what? 2017 wasn't going to be a vintage year for us. Don't hold your breath for too long. A team designed to win 15 Grand Prix a year doesn't sit still.
Oh, you know what?
How are you? Pleasure.
Sorry, this is the long
Zach, how are
version.
you?
This is not going to be fun for you guys to watch. You're gonna have to listen to Mr. Branch and what's his name do a pep talk for half an hour there. Yeah, that's not a good one to watch. Any more questions?
Which road time are you and some of these kids here killing?
What road time?
Yeah.
When they go from the simulator and have reached the top 10, we put them in Silverstone, England, and they learn for about 90 days how to drive a real car so part of our company is training, we train drivers. Our simulator company called AIS, part of Ferrari, is what trains most of Formula One drivers. So we know, after 9 years, we kind of know. The first year was a train wreck. It was a lot of kids that didn't have licenses driving around the track, trying to keep up with each other and smashing up, $1 million cars. So now we've figured out, we use the Formula Renault car and it's pretty cheap to drive, and we train them up and ultimately they make their way into the world's fastest gamer. But yeah, it's about a 90-day program. By the time they've come out of a simulator, they can drive.
They have the reflexes, but people from panicking out there,
Well, the ones that really are really good are the ones that never crash, and when they crash, their whole career changes. So it's interesting to watch in real racing these graduates going against 20, 30-year veterans, 10, 20, 30-year veterans, and how they pass and how they react on the track is way different than you would if you just grew up through karting and ultimately, got in a seat. But with that said, there's no, we always got, first 2 seasons we got blamed for cheating because you guys have boost, and how does that guy pass? There's no way somebody could pass like that. We're like, his brain's wired different. He's a gamer, and he can pass wherever he wants as long as it's safe. And you guys, just because you all went on the apex and he went underneath you, too bad. So ultimately, we started winning. We had 8 podiums in the year 3 in Pro World Challenge, and so it proves out a lot. But it ultimately, for us, it proved that we can connect gamers to the real sport, and then ultimately the path for them is something to achieve. And we really love this program. We'll run it. We start again in January. So if you all want to download Gear Club and practice, go for it. It's $1 million. Next year's $10 million worth of prizes. The final is $1 million, and it's going to be a good year for us in this. So I'm getting the wave off, but thank you very much.
Applause for